Good evening, everyone. It's a very, very interesting topic given to us. So in the 80s, we believe there was this something concept called middle class. And today, I don't see a middle class, so to say, existing, at least in the urban India. And there's this huge bulge that has happened. I was going through some figures, and 50 lakh crores is the urban household income. And about 41% of that is coming from this middle, which is anything outside of the metro in the urban India. Now, is this bulge happened only in the smaller towns? Probably not, because it's more, I think, lifestyle, mindset, all of this. So there is this set of consumer that exists even in the metros. So you find them in Delhi, you find them in Bombay, but for large part, the growth has happened in places like, let's say, for example, Jaipur, Bhubaneswar. These kind of cities have really come up. So I'm going to ask as to how, not necessarily, don't have to stick to only your product categories, but your erstwhile categories that you worked on. How do you think you guys have managed to reach this particular, because I want to focus on this for a bit, and then we'll talk about the top and bottom.
We've read books like Bottom of the Pyramid, which talks about the fact that India is a pyramid or was a pyramid, and India, in our opinion today, no longer happens to be a pyramid. It's moved from a pyramid to a diamond structure, and as Raghav put it rightly, the diamond is actually bulging in the middle. And what you see is people who were at the bottom of the pyramid have moved rapidly into the middle of the pyramid, and they are the aspirant class, as I would call it. And yes, there are people who have moved from the middle to the top as well. So this movement keeps happening. And if you look at it, the needs of each of these kind of so-called layers within the diamond structure keeps differing. And as a marketer, one thing that actually came up is when you're looking at right at the bottom of the pyramid, there are people who possibly are looking at absolute basics, and you look at it. In the bottom, you need to educate them to get into new categories. In the middle, it's all about upgrading them. So a lot of people may buy a particular kind of product, so it's important that you upgrade them to a category which is higher, or make them use more of what they're currently consuming. And at the top, if you look at it technically, the chunk of people that you have at the top is more than the population of UK. And that's all about experience and giving them an experience of top-end products, luxurious products. So clearly, if I have to segregate the job that a marketer has to do, it's about recruiting people into categories right at the bottom, making them upgrade in the middle and making them use more of the category in the middle. And at the top, it's all about giving them a great experience and making them maybe consume more of the luxury brands. That's what I would put in a nutshell.
So Mahesh, if I understood what you're saying a marketer's portfolio should more or less mirror the structure of the consumer. So my question is, what if a marketer does not have such a robust portfolio? In the case of Unilever, yes. But in the case of, let's say you are a two-product marketer or a two-brand marketer, then in that case, how do you reach out to these three segments?
So typically, if you're talking about an organization or an MNC that tries to enter the country, you have to be very clear where you have to be pegged at. If you say that I want to start at the bottom, it's extremely difficult. You need a lot of distribution. And it's sometimes very difficult to reach out to the people down there. You need to depend on a lot of indirect channels to reach out to the people there. So typically the easier thing, and it also depends on what kind of an offering you have. So very clearly, something in the middle is something people can't miss out on. So that's where the bulk of India is, and that's where the excitement in India is. So very clearly, you need to be clear about what your offerings are, and accordingly maybe say, hey, I will reach out either to the top or to the middle, or maybe the top and middle. So if you are a Harley, obviously you'll go right at the top. So for an organization like us, we are very clear that the top and the middle is what we are looking at. Until you don't crack the middle of the diamond, you will never get volumes in a country like India. And the biggest fallacy would be, people, organizations coming into India and saying that I want to get profitable from day one. That's not going to happen. You have to get to a particular scale in a country like India. You need to invest in a country like India, maybe bleed initially for the first few years. And then once you've got scale, the profits would come in some time or the other. So very clearly, it's something you can't ignore the middle of the diamond. That's where the scale in India is actually there.
So, Bala, now you've been in FMCG, you've been in BFSI. I want to ask you a very pertinent question regarding digital, right? So now there has been a huge surge in digital consumption. I'm not even talking as a medium, but just as a consumption, how people consume, how it's become a channel of sales, as well as it's become a channel of entertainment, it's become channel of information, it's everything, right? It's one-stop shop. So how are marketers using this? And clearly, at least I'm not talking about the bottom, but the metros and the non-metros, how do you think the consumers are being marketed through digital as a medium?
I think fundamentally the digital adoption actually is breaking down this whole barrier, and probably the way we always looked at India as, there's an India and there's a Bharat and there is middle India as a huge middle class opportunity. I think a lot of that is getting, a lot of that is changing with technology, with adoption of technology, with digital. I'm going to look at it in a very different way. So we've always looked at products and which are meant for the well-heeled, and products for the middle, and product for the the deprived or the aspiring segment. Suddenly you have smartphones, like so there are people who can afford and buy an Apple, but there are lots and lots of people buying phones. Micromax has made a huge killing in the market, and primarily because it's able to deliver all the features, and a large part of its users are as savvy using that phone as anybody with the latest Samsung S6 or the iPhone and so on. We had hotels which were primarily the 5-star variety. Today you have hotels and disruption happening where people are able to access 500 rupee rooms. So there's a whole host of things that's getting created for people who are now able to travel. My driver wants to go to Jaipur and have a holiday, and he's using one of these apps to get a room, and so that's happening right in front of us. So technology is completely disrupting what we thought that this category is meant only for this segment. I think that's completely changing. Maybe the products are still different, but the need, what we thought, so it's not that only some of us can do things. Everybody can do it. They find different ways, and a smart marketer would actually be able to build on that and work on the costs to deliver that.
I think if I get you right, there was a time when marketers marketed to consumers the way they wanted. Today, the consumers are dictating marketers how they should market to them, right? The society has seen a lot of levelers, right? Equalizers, where everybody is on parity. So, yeah, and mobile has, you mentioned the point, smartphones. See, India, I think, predominantly has skipped a lot of steps. I don't see, we never had 100% landline penetration, and we have close to 100% mobile penetration. So I think we're an oddball as a country. And that's why most MNCs also find it difficult to, to market here, because a lot of the formulas, success formulas, don't work in India. So Sanjay, you've spent many years in BFSI. If I were to say as an industry, I know you deal with protecting lives, but not protecting, insuring lives. Sorry, I'm not sure if it's a protection. So on one end of the spectrum, there is microfinancing, right? And the other end of the spectrum is investment banking and whatnot on the other. So what do you think microfinancing has done to the rural, to, agriculture is the biggest contributor to our GDP even today. We are an agricultural country. So this microfinancing in the rural areas, I'm not necessarily talking only farmers, but largely yes, has that helped them to, improve on their standard of living and hence be open to more marketers coming in, brands coming in, penetrations increasing? Has that, can you just tell us a little about?
If you look at microfinance, it helped in multiple levels. If you look at what is the problem in India is that, the finance is available to select few because majority of Indians don't have bank accounts. They don't have a permanent address. Look at all the migrant population staying in big cities kind of thing. So they had some farmland somewhere. They are staying in Bombay or Delhi, there is no permanent address. So they cannot really be financed or get any loans. If you look at any driver of yours, will ask you for loan rather than going to a bank and get loans. Similarly, the farmers, there is no certainty of income, and there is the produce sales. He's also the prices. He's not very sure. Bala was sharing on the other room, how ITC Agro really helped. Sip Kumar has put up that system, and you can actually know what is the farm price. Through they spend huge amount of money and technology at that point of time, internet, how to really get the farm prices, mandi pricing, where all the details, and that they went all the way to Gram Panchayat and all teach the farmers. So the two things has helped. More is access to the information. Even with mobile coming in, if you look at a lot of mobile companies that really had a vast kind of system where a voice-based kind of thing, you can pick up information about a mandi price, and also the pricing and information really helped. The other thing is access to finance helped in terms of two ways, in terms of getting the right cropping pattern in place, because if you got so you'll not really do rice after rice after rice, so you can actually go into the more cash crop kind of pattern. Second is that someone is there to back you up, so in case something happens you can take advantage of the system. And there is a society based, how are the microfinance guys really helped, in the sense they really ensured that the society is really supporting, in the sense rather than looking for your individual proof, ensured that you are actually backed up by the society. So eventually the one of your village person is involved in giving you the credit, so you are more responsible to really pay back the credit. And the credit to the women, credit to the small farmers, credit to rural household where they are employed in non-agricultural labor. So that really helps to upgrade the economy. And more importantly, what happened, I think that money has really gone into educating rural youth. If you look at the education of rural areas, really improved in last 10 to 15 years. And the consumption, that's why has really changed. I think the consumption is driven by the youth in rural areas because they got more exposure. They the brands come in through the youth, got introduced. And today, if you look at, there is what we call as a urban rural rate kind of thing. So because these guys got it is the gangs of Basepur. If you look at part 2, you look at the brands, they come in. I'm just saying, you can see all the urban brands has got an entry to the rural areas. So this is to the youth, to the education, and through the when they know that there is a certainty of income, there is someone to back it up. It really helped a lot of category to get penetration in. But today with mobile, it is really driven much faster, and it is not that mobile handset penetration. I think the content consumption, the marketers to reach the household, their exposure to brand, their exposure to understand what the right kind of brand. I think, the people find out the utilization is a very different way in a rural area than an urban area.